Welcome to Case Note Friday. My name's Fadan. I'm a family law solicitor practicing in Sydney, Australia. And today I'm going to talk to you about a criminal case that's become very famous, known as the mushroom case, the Erin Patterson story. I'm going to give you a bit of a summary of the facts. This case went to court. She was convicted. Sorry for the spoiler. And we'll go into the bit of a timeline as to how it all came about. Of course, she may appeal the conviction. That hasn't been determined yet, and she hasn't yet been sentenced, but she has been found guilty. So let's get into it. This is a story of Erin Patterson. Now, Erin is currently aged 50. She was married to a guy called Simon. Her and Simon got together in 2007. They were together for about 8 years, having 2 kids. They first got together in the year 2007. They separated in 2015. They had a son born in 2009 and a daughter born in 2014. Notwithstanding they separated in 2015, they remained good friends and they had a very good co-parenting relationship. And they continued to go on holidays together with their children, and they got along very, very well, for the fact that even though they were separated, they still got along. Up until things started to get tense around the year 2022. Now, the kids lived full-time with Erin. There's no dispute about that. But tensions kind of arose in relation to financial matters, from what I can gather. Now, Erin had come into some money. She came into some money before she'd met Simon. Her grandmother had passed away and she inherited about $2 million. And then subsequently, both her parents died and she came into another inheritance. Now, so she was a woman of some means. She quite generously, I think, had loaned some money to Simon's siblings to enable them to buy houses. And she gave very generous interest terms on those loans. So she got along very well with Simon's family. There's no dispute about that. After they separated, of course, the kids were with her, so he had to pay child support. As at the date of the trial, the child support was something like $40 a month. It wasn't very much, and she was a bit pissed about that. There are some text messages which were shown at the trial that she had messaged on Facebook groups saying things that weren't particularly nice about Simon. Let me see if I can show you them. This is a message that I found on news.com that she had posted on Facebook. I'm sick of this shit, wanting nothing to do with them. I thought his parents would want him to do the right thing, but it seems they're concerned about not wanting to feel uncomfortable, not wanting to get involved in their son's personal matters, are overriding, so fuck them. I don't want to hear it. Simon will just be horrible and be gaslighting and abusive, and it would ruin my day, and his parents will be more weasel words about not getting involved, so I think I'm going to just move on. Yeah, so she wasn't too happy with Simon. Don, that's Simon's dad, said they can't adjudicate, so they don't know both sides, so, they don't want to really get involved. He said he can ask, is that Simon and I get together and pray for the children? This family and I just swear to fucking God, because obviously they're a very religious family and she's an atheist. I said to him about 50 times yesterday that I didn't want them to adjudicate. Nobody bloody listens to me. At least I know they're a lost cause. Let's talk about the timeline leading up to that fateful beef Wellington lunch in July 2023. The prosecution were able to show that in February 2023, Erin purchased a second phone. So then they were able to say she had phone A and phone B. In March 2023, she self-administered a cervical cancer test and was able to show that she, in fact, didn't have cervical cancer. It was negative. On the 18th of April, she went to a website called iNaturalist. This was a website that had fungus and plants, and people would talk about those sorts of things on the website. And somebody had spotted death cup mushrooms at a place called Lock, and they'd posted that. On April the 28th, Erin's phone pinged at the area called Lock. She also that day purchases a dehydrator. We'll come back to that dehydrator because it's important. Now, in May, Erin posts in true crime groups, a Facebook group, about dehydrating mushrooms, just the process of dehydrating mushrooms, how she was all over it. In May, somebody else had posts on the iNaturalist website, a photo and exact location of death cap mushrooms, which had been sighted. They grow underneath oak trees in certain weather. And it was in a place called Outram. On May 22nd, that was on May 21st, somebody posted that. On May 22nd, Erin's phone pings in that very area of Outram. On the 11th of July, Erin buys a second SIM card for that other phone that she had. On the 16th of July, she goes to the Baptist church where she sees Gail and Don, her in-laws, and she sees Heather and Ian, and she invites them all over for lunch to come and at her place on the 29th of July. And Simon, of course, her ex-husband, is also invited to lunch. So the invitation is out to everyone for that lunch at her place. They'd never actually been to, Heather and Ian hadn't been over to Heather's place for lunch, so it was a little bit unusual. Nonetheless, they agreed to go. The day before the lunch was on the 29th of July. The day before the lunch, the husband sends her a message and says, I don't feel comfortable going. This is the message. Sorry, I feel too uncomfortable about coming to the lunch with you, Mum, Dad, Heather and Ian tomorrow, but I'm happy to talk about your health and implications of that at another time if you'd like to discuss on the phone, he wrote to Erin at 6:54 p.m. according to a text shown at court. That's the day before. Just let me know. She wasn't happy with that. At 6:59, she writes back, that's really disappointing. I've spent many hours this week preparing lunch for tomorrow, which has been exhausting in light of these issues I'm facing, and spent a small fortune on beef eye fillet to make beef Wellingtons because I wanted it to be a special meal, as I may not be able to host a lunch like this again for some time, because remember, she had said that she had some diagnosis that she wasn't well, which was allegedly why she'd invited them over to lunch to talk about this. It's important to me that you're all there tomorrow and I have the conversations that I need to have. I hope you'll change your mind. Your parents and Heather and Ian are coming at 12:30. I hope to see you there. Simon said he didn't respond. He had already told his parents he won't be going. There's a picture of Simon's parents. So it's the day of the lunch. Simon's not there and her children are not there, the grandkids, because she wanted to talk about her diagnosis of ovarian cancer and how to pass this information on to the children, and wanted to have a grown-up conversation about her diagnosis of ovarian cancer with these people. So her kids conveniently went to the movies. Now, when she serves the beef Wellington, she serves it on individual little beef Wellingtons. Everyone got their own. She didn't do one beef Wellington and chop it up as you normally would. What's a beef Wellington? This is your normal beef Wellington, beef wrapped in pastry, and you can see there's some sort of pate, which presumably in this case is where the mushrooms were. But remember, she gave everyone their own beef Wellington. Now, Ian, the only survivor of this fateful meal, other than Erin, said that they were served on different plates. That is, Erin had an orange tan plate and everybody else had a grey plate, which he noticed and thought was a bit unusual. Maybe this woman didn't have enough plates. So that was interesting. She had a different coloured plate. It's the day after, 30 July. The guests are all feeling sick. Don and Gail ring Simon and say, can you take us to the hospital? We're feeling really sick. He takes all of them to the hospital. And meanwhile, Erin takes her kids on various errands and she feeds the kids the leftovers, allegedly, of the beef Wellington. The next day, the kids go to school. Erin says to Simon, I'm feeling really unwell. Can you take me to the hospital too? And he says, get there yourself. Don, Gail and Heather are all deteriorating in hospital every day. Their livers are breaking down. Erin is interviewed by the Department of Health. This is on the 1st of August, and she says she bought the mushrooms at a greengrocer, which was an Asian supermarket in a local area. On the 2nd of August, Erin factory resets her phone and goes out to landfill / the tip and disposes of some items, including the dehydrator. On the 4th of August, sadly, Heather and Gail pass away. They die. And on the 5th of August, Don passes away, who had actually eaten his whole beef Wellington and half of Gail's. Ian gets a liver transplant and is still alive. And remembering Simon didn't go to the lunch. Erin Patterson was in fact convicted of the murders of Heather, Gail and Don and the attempted murder of Ian. That was after a 7 weeks of evidence, 6 days of arguments and 6.5 days of deliberation by the jury found her guilty of all of that. She's in prison and remains in prison. She can, of course, appeal the decision and she hasn't yet been sentenced. Why was she found guilty? A couple of reasons. One, she lied. Ultimately, she lied everywhere. She lied to the police about the dehydrator. They had the CCTV footage of her dumping the dehydrator at the tip, and then that when they did their searches on it, their forensic tests, her fingerprints were on it and traces of death cap mushrooms were in the dehydrator. She in fact admitted that she did serve the beef Wellingtons and there was death cap mushrooms in there, but it was by accident. She had no intent to kill these people. There was no motive to kill these people. It was a pure accident. She had no intent. However, the jury did not believe her. She lied about the dehydrator. She lied about the cancer. She never had ovarian cancer. She admitted that she lied about that. And she'd said that to lure them there so she could serve them the meal. The actual motive was never really found out. They also found on her phone images of death cap mushrooms. She had factory reset her phone 4 times, which they'd found out. Very suspicious behaviour from an innocent person. She said that she'd panicked and people thought, because Simon had said that you killed my parents, She thought people would say that, so she panicked and made up lies. What do you think?